Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Cruz.
This is Bryce Vine.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Nathan
This is Sebastian Younger.
This is Daryl.
This is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summit.
This is Dr. Bob Greenberg.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
Yo, what up? This is Bryce Vine, and I'm promoting my new tour, album, and single right here on The Break It Down Show.
And now, The Break It Down Show with John Leon Guerrero and Pete A. Turner.
That is right. We are in the Hollywood Hills, and when I say we, of course Bryce is here, but I'm also looking at Pete Koch, who's awesome. I love this. You guys actually have sort of a almost connection that we'll have to discuss in a couple of seconds.
Really?
Yeah. Close. Not quite, but yeah. But your new album's called Carnival, and your single that's out right now is called Drew Barrymore, and I love Drew Barrymore. Brenna loves everything you do. She's going to go see you. Awesome. Yeah, she's going to come see you in Atlanta. Cool. Everybody, if you guys don't know who Bryce Vine is, first off, press stop, and go listen to, I don't know,
whatever. Yeah,
Drew Barrymore, the Sour Patch Kids. Wait, didn't you write a love letter to Jennifer Love Hewitt or something like that in one of your songs too? Or
no, not to Jennifer Love.
Who was the other one? There was someone like that.
Oh man, I'll have to. Oh no, I did. I mentioned Allegra Cole, who's the character of like a pretty famous model from that movie Hitch.
Yes, that's what I was thinking of.
But yeah, man, I mean, whatever song, I hope people like what they hear.
Yeah, well, you're good. And DJ Severe turned us on to your work. We said, who's out there doing it? Who do we need to know about? And,
he was on it.
Yeah,
he was
fast,
on it, man.
Yeah, really, because it's been years.
Yeah.
And he plays you all the time at Dodger Stadium. When we last talked, with you, John, and I met, you were still independent. You were working on new music for the Drew Barrymore, that whole EP that you were going to put out. But fill us in on the blanks. What's happened since then?
So we put out. I was still independent when we put out Drew Barrymore on Spotify, and it got onto New Music Friday, which was great because then all of a sudden, for the first time in my life, like labels were reaching out to me instead of me trying to go meet with them. And I met with a couple and knew I wanted to be signed. Like it's just. You just kind of need to if you're planning on taking things to a global scale,
Yeah.
You just need that engine. So I met this woman, Rainey Hancock, who had just become the president of Sire Records at Warner Brothers, and she was like everything I could have hoped for in a president. Like she's a music lover. She was like trained by Clive Davis. She was his protege in the music business and brought up different artists, like was part of Kesha's project and breaking a lot of people. So she's a real A&R, and so I love the idea of actually being signed to a woman, like an empowered woman. That was a cool. I was like, yeah, absolutely. So I signed with them, and they started pushing Drew Barrymore at the beginning of 2018, and then everything just started going crazy.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Well. It's not a surprise though. I mean, your songs they're so goddamn good. They're catchy, and there's a lot of songs in my internal mental iPod, but your music quite often pops into my head. Certain things, certain times, there must be some kind of trigger, but it'll pop in, and I'll be humming little bits of it, little hooks and everything. So
that's awesome.
It's just that's a sign of quality stuff. It's cool to see that you're doing so well.
Well, that's what I like, man. I like songs that feel like candy for the ear, and they take you to different places, and it's fun, and the lyrics are fun to sing, and the melodies are fun. There's too many things that just go into my head and they're out immediately, and it's very hard to find songs that last forever that people get excited about all the time whenever they come on. And I think part of being an artist is you hope to make those songs, and you hope to draw those drawings and paint those paintings and whatever you do to make it great. So,
along those lines, I'm so interested. I have Pete Turner and I had a laugh about this as we were sort of discussing and prepping to meet with you this afternoon, and that is, I said, "Hey, Pete, I was a musician. I can relate to folks."
No kidding. What do you play?
I was in fact, I'll have I was the president of the senior high school band. Problematically, and the captain of the football team at the same time. Problematically, I played the trombone.
No way.
Yeah, so nothing wrong with the trombone. I'm proud of it, but there's not a lot of demand, I think, for the brass section. In
It's
popular
definitely
music.
dwindled a little.
Yeah. But at least I learned how to read music. I have an appreciation for music. I'm glad that my mom insisted that I learn an instrument as part of my development growing up. And then I learned that you went to Berkeley School. And for the folks who don't know, I know this much, that if you want to be an engineer, you're going to try to get into MIT. And if you want to be a musician, you're going to try to get into Berkeley or Juilliard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably the 1-2 punch. And you went to the most prestigious school, music school in the nation. And how formative, what was that experience like?
Wow. What a great question. It was overwhelming first, for sure. I went from I was in a punk band in high school. It's funny that you played trombone. My DJ plays trumpet. He plays it when we do the live shows. So I know it's not the same, but it's brass. So,
Sure.
So I went from being a medium fish in a small pond to a very small fish in a very big, talented pond.
Yep.
And it was scary, man. I remember 2 months into being at Berkeley with all these people, I called my mom and I was like, I don't think I deserve to be here. I was serious. I was worried. I was like, maybe this isn't what I'm cut out for. I don't have the range of the singers. I don't have the musicality of the people that actually have grown up playing instruments. I taught myself to play guitar. I just didn't feel that great for it. My mom was just like, well, they seem to think you're good enough. So just do the work. You know?
That's encouraging.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in high school, one of the kids I played with in the band ended up going to Juilliard on a full scholarship.
Wow.
He played saxophone. But his dad was a professional saxophone player. So he was already
Tough shoes to fill.
He was getting into musical theory. He was writing for years by that time. He's writing not only his own solos. I played in a stage band, a jazz band. He wrote parts for every single instrument, handed them out.
Wow.
Did one of his songs when he was 17. So I know when you go to a school like that, you're going to run into prodigies.
Yeah, you run into quite a few, and especially at a contemporary music school, where the focus isn't necessarily on classical. You meet prodigies of all different kinds, prodigy producers, prodigy songwriters, prodigy guitar players, people that are just developing skills on a higher level in all different fields of music, and you're seeing them from their ground up stage. I mean, it's definitely a thing to witness, but it's definitely overwhelming if you're not part of the club.
And and now looking back on that, can you feel that maybe it took some time to sink into your soul a little bit, but do you take away what have you taken away from your experience at Berkeley? Was it through instruction, or was it through maybe fellow students?
100% fellow students. 100%. I wouldn't be where I am. Literally wouldn't be where I am if it weren't for the people that I met at Berkeley. My producer that I worked mainly with, who helped develop me, who trained me and made me a smarter person and a harder worker, I met my freshman year at Berkeley when I helped him clean up a house party that he had, and we've been friends since. And now he produces for everyone from Selena Gomez to Justin Bieber to A$AP Rock. I mean, the list goes on with him, and he's his work ethic. He wasn't even a producer when I met him. He was just a guitar player, and
Just a guitar player, though. Was he good, or was he?
He was good.
Yeah.
But, he would even say he's not an amazing guitar player. He's probably a better pianist, actually. But either way, the fire was there.
If he's a guitar player, pretty good, and then better keyboard player, but a world-class producer apparently, what's the difference? How does he discover that? Do you see that before he does? What's that sorting process like for all you guys?
For me, on my journey, it was the same as his, but just with different things. You just have to kind of figure out where your mold is and where you fit in, and the only way to do that is to try out different things and fail. like I said, I was in a punk band, and then I went to Berkeley and I tried out the reggae ensemble. I went into the gospel ensemble, even though I had no business being there. I think the teacher was just trying to cut me a break because I wanted to like experience that and see if that's where my voice fit in, if that's being around those caliber of singers would unleash anything, you know. And then maybe things I took away from that ended up in the next phase, which was pop and rap music. It was around like the Kanye graduation time, so pop and rap were finally becoming one thing, and now it's like urban music is pop, but back then that was just starting to happen.
Right.
And then it turned out my voice fit into that realm. And then I just had to keep molding it, and like I had always written my own songs, so that came naturally already. I didn't know that you could be an artist without writing your own songs. And for Nolan, you know, in the same path, like he graduated from college. I didn't. I left after 2 years to go follow another music opportunity, but he graduated from college. He went into MP&E, which is the program at Berkeley that everyone who wants to be a producer wants to get into. Funny enough, the head of my label, who I just mentioned, Rainey Hancock, she went to Berkeley also, and she was in that program. I mean, she's a real musician, a real lover of music, and everyone that I surround myself is. My manager went to Berkeley, separate from me. My DJ, my drummer, most of the people that I'm involved with now that I've been involved with for years, I met at Berkeley.
You refer to yourself as a musician, like you're not, you know, a performer, and there's nothing wrong with these things, but that's not how you see yourself.
I see myself as somebody who uses music as therapy. Like that's what it always was for me. Music was therapy. The songs that people wrote and the stories that they told when they were honest and real, it felt that way, and it was like a release to know that these people were going through other things, and there was songs that sounded uplifting but were about drug addiction, and there's just a thing for every mood. And if I'm running on the treadmill, I'm listening to one thing, and it just seemed like nothing else can affect you and heal you that same way, besides obviously doctors. And training your body. You know, obviously, you know, part of that is training yourself in a lot of ways. I'm breaking off here. I just always loved music, and I knew I wanted to be involved in music. And so I just had to keep figuring things out and find my place.
How does that resonate with you? I mean, you go to Maryland to play football at a high level. You end up going to the NFL and not just like showing up, but actually knocking people down for a living. There's got to be a sorting process there. Like you end up being a defensive end, but you know, maybe you're like, let me try safety. Let me try. How does that work in comparison to what he's saying?
I think football worked for me, and why I was attracted to it was I liked the fact that it's highly organized, and it was coached. The coaching is crucially important. And I was fortunate enough to go to a high school. I had an excellent head coach and a program.
Where did you grow up? Where did you go to high school?
I'm from Long Island.
Oh wow.
And I felt like it was a place, because I felt like an outsider, felt like a weird kid. I felt awkward, wasn't comfortable with myself, except when I put on football equipment and a helmet. I felt maybe I was hiding in that helmet a little bit, but I just felt like I got my confidence in that space. And I liked the idea of somebody instructing me to make me better. There's an expression that I like, and I think it could not only transfer as far as athletic development, but I think also certainly musical development or artistic development. And that is, all you can ask from your coach or the people that you work with. In your case, I suppose it might be your producer, but that is since you can't sing a song for me, you can't make a tackle for me, but all I ask of you is to position me for success. That's it. Just do that. But it's much easier said than done effectively. But I had coaches that did effectively, especially in those formative years when I was in high school, and they positioned me for success, which led to an athletic scholarship, and then from there the NFL.
Wow.
And I think that I was of the mindset that I could make that work. However, without that structure of the coaching, I'm not sure I would have been very good. And because I don't know that I have a natural creativity or a natural discipline to sit there by myself and make something happen. I'm much better myself in a team setting.
Being pushed, yeah. And yeah, driven.
Pushed and encouraged, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very similar. I think that's probably why I mean, in your opinion, maybe that's why professional sports. I'm sorry, sports is when you're young is such a. It can be such a catalyst for success because you have to learn early on to work towards something and finish it.
Yeah,
And
work together
train.
with a team and towards a common goal.
Yeah.
And there's and that taught me lessons which were very helpful to me in life. There's two kinds of athletes, in my judgment, by the way. There's team sport athletes, which certainly what I was, played football and basketball, played in these group sports. And then there's also individual athletes. Most typically we think of golf and tennis, but certainly gymnastics would fall into that category, all kinds of things. And there's not much team involved in that stuff. And I was always attracted to the team sports, and I think that they offer a set of skills and values that are unique and beneficial as we go through life.
Wow.
You put up a lot of stuff on your Instagram that's really motivational. Like he's, because I mean, look at it. He works out. There's a picture of him about to throw 135 pounds over his head in a barbell. I love that picture of you because there's total commitment and it's just awesome.
Crazy.
But there was this one quote that talks about like you have to work hard because of the person that believes in you.
Yeah.
What's that quote?
The failure to work hard is disrespectful to the people who believe in you.
Wow.
Failure to work hard is disrespectful to the people who believe in you.
Wow.
What does that bring up for you, Bryce?
I mean, to a certain extent, like, I do this because I owe it to those people. That, that my mom, who came to every single show in high school and, bought me my first guitar, to my best friends who were there supporting me when I would perform at the school and whatever I was doing. And, you want people that are good, that you love, to see that their faith in something gets rewarded. You want that for them too. Like, and if they put their faith in you, you don't want to let them down. And maybe that's why it hurts so bad to let people that you love down. It's a beautiful quote.
Yeah. What does that look like when you're writing? Because that's just you, right? You don't write with a team, or do you?
I've started to write with more people. I've gotten better at writing, like, just with one other person, or like, there's a muscle to be built with it, And this year I definitely had to do that. It's the only reason that I've come this far is because I had to open up to a lot of new things. I drove at like midnight one time to these USC kids who were fans' room and wrote a whole song with them that night. It was something I had never done, but I just said yes, and they were fans, and they are in music at USC, so I went. And the song that we ended up writing is gonna be a single in probably in the next year and a half. Yeah,
that's a good thing to say yes to.
Yeah, and that was like the start. And then I figured out other things, like, okay, well, if that worked, then maybe this will work. And then, it's like positive reinforcement is a wonderful thing. When things work and when you weren't expecting them to work. Yeah. That's how things have gone along.
Collaboration, that resonates with me as a team sport athlete, and everyone's got their own path. And I've learned also in my life and the different things that I've done in the world of fitness and as an actor myself, that collaboration is awfully important. Many people can sort of succeed, I think, in isolation. Mm-hmm. It's possible,
Yeah.
But collaboration is also pretty special, and that's such an exciting story to hear that you collaborated in a unique way with a group of young people. I mean, that's a very special kind of a standalone, to me, a story of, because I'm so interested from the when I speak with an artist like you in the process of how you got, and that can be very personal. That might not even be something you wanted to share, but the process of how you get to the final product, which is bam, dropping a single, boom, YouTube, millions of people viewing it. But where did that start?
I mean, same for you, man. From my perspective, I couldn't even imagine the work that it takes to be considered a player worthy of going to the NFL and then making it there and then playing against all the other people in the country and world that have, like, what
yeah.
How did you even, It's so far from my world. How did you get to that?
Yeah, but I can tell you, I actually have a somewhat boring, simplistic answer. But everybody who got to the NFL before me and after me took pretty much the same path. There's some place along their line, their mom or dad signed them up for youth football, and that went to high school football, that went to college football, and you kept on. If you were willing to work that hard and be that committed, and you were a little bit lucky with your talent and you stayed injury free, then you have a chance to go all the way. Yeah, there's just some fade and some bits in there in between, but I think it's a pretty linear path.
Right.
That's what you've got to do. Nobody's doing it from another direction. But conversely, when I meet with artistic people, Benicio del Toro is a friend and of mine for it.
Wow.
I've known him for 10 years, and we've had this discussion, and so I'm like, without going into his story, but I'll say, what is your process to go from, we know where he starts and we know where it ends. It starts when somebody hands him a script, and it ends with, wow, I just watched Sicario and your performance blew me away.
And you were a hitman.
Yeah.
Right. Or I watched an old rerun of Traffic where you won the Academy Award, and that's
Beautiful
the final.
movie.
It's the final. It started with black words on white paper. How the heck to me, the interesting part, how did you get from there to there?
Yeah.
And that is unique to every artist, and that's what I find fascinating. So how do you get from, do you start in front of a keyboard or a laptop or a blank sheet of paper and a notepad and a pencil? Where's it start?
It's always different. For me, it's always different. I've kind of narrowed it down. Sometimes I'll start something on guitar. Rarely these days, though, because I had to teach myself how to produce on the computer. So a lot of times I'll just start with a beat and see where it goes. Most times it goes nowhere. But sometimes, like in Drew Barrymore's case, it goes somewhere. And it's really just the amount of time you're willing to put in failing before you get that gold. And it's like, most of the things that I start and try, I'm lucky that I know pretty early on that it's not something special, or it is. And I trust the people around me to tell me if it's something special or it is. As soon as my producer heard what I had been working on with Drew Barrymore, before it was Drew Barrymore, he was like, this is something. Keep working on this. And then I'm like, cool. Like, I needed that motivation. Otherwise, you can only trust yourself in so many ways. I think everything that some artists have written is amazing, and a lot of people have never heard of it, and some people don't like it. So my opinion isn't even necessarily valid to a lot of people. So it's like, what will work on a massive scale? So I just keep trying things.
There's a balance, though, right? Between, so like, we'll do these album fights, and even Stevie Wonder, like when he has total creative control, it's really hard to tell Stevie, no, stop.
Right.
So there's some indulgence in there, and then it can become too much. And it's a Stevie Wonder, so it's in the context of, it's incredible music, but when you listen, you're like, you can tell this is his own stuff because he just takes his own direction, and he's the artist, he gets to do that. But there is that thing where you need someone to bend you back, but you also don't want to have 100 voices.
That's what a producer is.
Right.
That's what a producer is. A producer helps you go like this. You just narrow it down.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been doing for years. I've made a lot of different kinds of songs, and it wasn't until Drew Barrymore that something really, really worked.
Yeah.
So it's like, then you start to realize that this is the formula that works. Otherwise, you're just trying stuff and failing for a long period of time. That's all I've been doing, just trial and error for years and years. There's no manual, there's no playbook. It's just sometimes luck of the draw. My dad always says it's just when luck and preparation meet. You do the work. I read a lot, which helps. Try to hear a lot of different people's stories. I don't know. I don't know what it is that makes it happen, but it just happens sometimes.
Do you use perspective? I notice a lot of really talented songwriters, look at like Love, for example, as like a spherical thing, and you can take one little point of view. This is unrequited love that, almost made it. And this is requited love that, shouldn't have made it. And there's all these different points of view to examine love as a topic. Do you take a perspective like that and think, how can I do this? Because you could say baby, baby, fuck, fuck, baby, baby. But everybody's done that. You don't want to just do that. You want to do something special. So what's that special thing?
I guess I just think of like a scenario and someone would be singing the song. Like if I'm trying to make something, like I have a song called You on the new album that I wrote with the intention of writing a song that could be a love song for anyone that you know. Mm-hmm. Whoever you're talking to. Like hopefully it'll be a song that people play at weddings for their first dance and stuff. You just kind of I just think of people that I know, and then I just use things about them, and then I move on to somebody else. Like the first line in the song is, "You got your mama's attitude and your daddy's sense of wisdom." I know plenty of people that fit that category. Sure.
So the relatability is that what you think of sometimes as you're writing a lyric? Do you want to relate to your audience, or no? Maybe that's not important.
No, of course it is. It's just I already assume that now I do. I mean, gosh, I'm trying to think of how it was. All right. At first it was self-therapy, and then when people started relating to it, I realized that there were more people that felt the ways that I felt about the world and things that I see and the way that I feel about people and experiences. And then you start writing those songs for those people because you already know now that you have something in common with them.
Yeah. So
you could just kind of write as yourself, because no matter what I write as myself, as long as it's sincere, they'll find some common ground with that. I think that's why the fans that I have are so in depth on it, because they feel understood.
So one thing I've noticed from a lot of different music is that you reach a point sometimes where a song breaks through hit status and gets above, and it no longer belongs to the Beatles or whoever it's going to be. It belongs to all of us, and it means something completely different than what it meant when you figured out what those lines were. Have you experienced that yet at all with any of your stuff? Or someone comes back and you're like, this is what this song means to me, and you're like, I had never thought about that, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's happened a couple times. Mostly it helps people who are going through what I was going through when I wrote that song. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Like that emotion is evoked from that, even if it's not the subject. That's it.
That's cool. That's a neat power to have.
Yeah, it's kind of like telepathy in a way, Novelists get the same thing. They're talking to someone, technically speaking directly to them, but it could be another year, different time period, whatever, but the words are still, they affect you differently. Novels are a good example of how art changes and how it's affected people, because some books, Moby Dick, when it came out, was not a huge success. Nobody really cared. It took 70 years for her, for Melville to even be a widely known name. And a lot of these people are like that. It's kind of the burden of being an artist. You're not always necessarily at the right place at the right time for when you're needed.
Yeah. In high school, we wrote a rap about...
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero, co-host of the Break It Down show and fellow producer here at Lions Rock Productions. And I'm proud to announce our newest show. It's called Justice. Season 1 is going to be a deep dive into some of the cases I personally worked on as a licensed private investigator, and you'll get a unique view into the criminal justice system that may just challenge some of your personal notions about how it should work and open your eyes in ways you never imagined. So keep your ears open for Justice, a brand new podcast from Lions Rock Productions to iTunes, Stitcher, and wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
The right place at the right time for when you're needed.
Yeah. In high school, we wrote a rap about Moby Dick, the novel.
You wrote a rap about Moby Dick?
Yeah, it was fun.
Do you remember it?
Yeah, a little bit. It was, call me Ishmael, call me what you like. Me, Queequeg, and Moby are going to rock you through the night. fresh, that kind of thing. It was great. It was hilarious.
Talented from a very early start, I see.
Yeah. Yeah.
My man.
So, okay, I know we're getting deep into the process thing here, and so just indulge me a little longer, a couple more questions in this vein,
problem.
because this stuff's really neat. So, we had Allie Willis. She lives over in the Valley, and she's a Hall of Fame songwriter. She wrote Boogie Wonderland for Earth, Wind & Fire.
Wow.
Yeah, she wrote September.
Wow.
Yeah, she's legit. She's written songs for everybody. You go into her studio. She's got her studio. Her house is kind of like a kitsch museum, so there's stuff everywhere. And then you look up and you go, that whole wall is all platinum records, And so she said a lesson she learned from Earth, Wind & Fire, either from Verdine, or I think it was Maurice, was you lose words in favor of the groove. Like if you have a song that's a groove song, words, whatever, it can be da 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 da. It doesn't matter because the groove owns it. Yeah, you're shaking your head. Yes, I'm going to shut up and let the master talk. Go ahead.
I mean, I just think that melody is always more important than lyrics.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm a writer. Like, I love to write good lyrics, but nobody cares really about great lyrics over a crappy, shitty song. They just don't. You need something that's going to bring them in, and that is always melody. Hey now, you're an all-star, get your game on, go play. Simple as hell.
Yeah.
Anyone can sing it. Fun to sing. That's, it's a passion project, but you have to be aware that if you intend to make money from a passion project, you have to do it for more than yourself. And to do that, you have to know what people want on a massive scale, and they want to be able to sing along. That's honestly why R&B had a little bit of a fallout period, and why it's starting to resurge, because R&B was so complex for a long time, and it was like not everybody could sing all the words to these songs, and now they've almost figured out a way to incorporate it into pop music so that melodies can be sung simpler in that style. But then also nobody really cares about lyrics enough all the time to, like, all these DJs, a lot of them don't have songs with words at all.
Yeah.
I don't have any connection to it. But a lot of people do. So I'm still figuring it out also. I see that, and then I go, okay, well, melody's not even that important then.
Yeah.
These people are going wild and paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to go see somebody play their songs, and they don't have anything to sing along to. It's wild.
And not even really a recognizable instrument in the whole thing.
No.
A lot of times.
It's just things affect different people in different ways for different reasons. But the things that are great, they always seem to surface, right? Like, I have an app on my phone that will play songs from different countries of certain decades. So you could hear what was coming out in Angola in 1970. You could hear, 2000s rap music in United States. And it'll play you things that weren't necessarily on the radio at the time. A lot of the gold was already on the radio. It's like, if it's a great song, it usually found its way to the masses, which is kind of a relief, actually.
How so?
Well, because it means that people really love the songs that are great, and they'll still touch people in a certain way that it's kind of unexplainable. And it's not just about the business, and it's not just about if you are a marketable artist, or if you are if you have the income or the means to promote yourself, it's still more about the music than anything. At least that's how I take it. I mean, look at today. Like, anybody can have a hit record. They've made it so that the world has made it so anyone can have a hit record, because we demand whatever's good.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they're signed, or if they come from poverty or riches or anything. If you know how to make a good song that reaches people, it will find its way.
What if it's something else, though? And I don't mean to bash on any modern artist at all. I'm just trying to understand, but a lot of the music that comes out now, Fetty Wap. I don't get that. I don't. I don't understand.
That's an interesting person to use.
But there's a lot of success there, and just like you watch videos, the quality of the video shot. You're a guy that you shoot great videos. They're fantastic, and then you see someone put something up, and it's not about hating what they do, but as a guy with a mass comm degree, I see jump cuts all over the screen. It's like I want to scratch my face off because they've got millions of hits, and the video, by my standard, is garbage. Like it's not even professional, but there's a zillion people or some song that's just not euphonious. Like it sounds exactly like the song 5 songs ago. And I'll pick on trap as a genre because I don't get it, right?
Right.
But it's like, yeah, there's 64th notes over and over again, and the same kind of pattern of singing, and I can't tell if I don't know who you are. So I don't know. Help me out.
Unfortunately, it's a sign when that stuff happens because it's going to happen to everybody.
Sure.
At some point, I'm going to be hearing music and I'm going to think nobody could possibly like this with a brain. It just means that I'm not the generation that it's for anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that everything is great and I'm just wrong.
Right.
And Fetty Wap, as an example, there's reasons that people gravitate towards the artist also.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you could put out, like he had a couple hits, but he also has an interesting thing about him. Like he has one eye.
Yeah.
He comes from poverty, and people love seeing someone build their way up. And his song, and he could actually sing. Like, I don't know if I love all of his music, but he could actually sing, and he could hold a tune, and they were catchy and they were fun to sing. Like I said, they were easy and fun to sing in a lot of ways. So people still just like want that. It doesn't bother me when I hear like trap songs that I don't think are good. I just wonder what it is about them that's appealing to people, and then I have to kind of like figure that out.
Yeah.
And I think it's a rebellion. I think that's what it's always been when a genre of music comes up out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's the youth need to feel like they have their own thing.
Yeah.
And that thing has to be new and for them. And that means that it can't be easily accepted or swallowed by people who have lived other generations of music.
Yeah.
Think about rock and roll wasn't widely accepted when it first came out. It was a rebellious style of music. AC/DC, Kiss, these guys were called, heathens, and mothers and fathers everywhere were scratching their heads, trying to keep their kids from worshiping the devil over, this music that now seems so tame. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the time, that's what it was. It was rebellious music. And that's really what people need to feel like they own something, that it comes from them, that it's their culture, that it's their time period, and that's what you attach yourself to. And that's why no matter how long time goes on, you listen back to these songs that you loved when you were young, and they mean something to you, even if you think that they're kind of whack now.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a little embarrassed that I liked Adam Ant when I was growing up. But it's okay, though.
I mean, I'm sure everybody in the disco era is a little embarrassed of at least a couple songs that they sang and danced to, but that was, at some point, that was like a new thing and a new exciting adventure to go on.
Our official show definition of rock and roll is if that person shows up, Post Malone shows up and he wants to date my daughter, door in the face, that's rock and roll. If Chris Brown shows up, not a fucking chance. Get that's rock and roll. You're not, as the adult, as the parent, you're not supposed to get it.
Yeah. You're not supposed to.
Yeah. So it must be, Fetty Wap must be rock and roll to me. So, it's just how it is.
A lot of this is, man, like all these trap rappers with tattoos on their face and like you watch the shows, and if you watch it with no music, it's a punk show. This is just punk's resurgence in an era that rap defines. It's that same feeling that people get, that defiance, that you could mosh in the crowd. They do. It's all, it's not a bunch of gangsters out there. It's a bunch of like 17-year-old kids that have only been in school for a certain amount of years and are figuring life out slowly, and they're also going through puberty, and they don't know what the fuck is going on, and they need some way, some person that seems cooler than them to attach themselves to. That's all it is. And when you put it in that way, it's like it feels very innocent, you know?
But the talent is to tap into the angst and all that generation of young people. And this is nothing new, right? This goes back to Elvis and before him Sinatra.
Yeah.
But it's so easy, everybody would do it. But to tap in with your lyric and with your sound, I love your Allie Willis. She's a giant, right? She's going into the Writers Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And interesting to note, even at her level of skill, she defers to when Verdine says, sometimes you got to let the beat or the rhythm take over. That's fascinating. Now, this is production now, right? Mm-hmm. So we're talking about where's that intersection of the lyric and the music, which I would pose a question to you, because you're a singer-songwriter, right? Definitionally, and however you arrive at that, and with a guitar or whatever instrument takes you there, or not even an instrument, but however you arrive at that. Does the music come first, the lyric first?
No, melody.
Melody first.
Melody comes first. Yeah, I think, like I was saying before, I think that people just want something to sing. If you're making music on like a wide scale or trying to have it be appealing, then yeah. But then there's people like Bob Dylan, where the lyrics came first. But you look at when Bob Dylan came out, and it was at a time when people really needed somebody who was saying something. Yeah. There was so many movements and so many the war and
Vietnam War,
and then the social justice and they needed his words then more than they needed like dancing in September. So that's why he was able to.
I had the opportunity years ago to get to know Jerry Goffin. And Jerry Goffin was a songwriter who wrote with his wife at the time, years ago, Tapestry. He was married to Carole King. Wow. And so go back to the 60s. And then he wrote hits later on, like Up on the Roof, had many, many gold records, and wrote all these songs. Anyway, God rest his soul, he died just a couple of years ago. He was in his 70s. And he would speak to me about, just to your point, about how everything was about the lyrics, and then the music came second. But I think, to your point, that spoke to the times. And I said, Jerry, of all the great successes that you've had, is there anybody that you looked up to? And he said, Bob Dylan. He said, Bob Dylan. We all sat around. They were all from New York City. And it was this whole group that came out of New York City that were writing hit by Neil Sedaka. All these young people. Jerry Goffin had his first song produced when he was 18. He was 18. He was writing lyrics at 18, and just by will he would get them out there. And he says, we all deferred to, as we were growing up, we all thought just the one guy at the top of the mountain in terms of his lyrics was Bob Dylan. So we aspired to that. We knew that it was him, and then everybody else, and then we would just do the best we could to kind of rip off and tell our stories of not that far removed from the Korean War, which was another messy war, and then the Vietnam War, and then the Civil Rights movement. And so we were like, wow, we all grew up with so much anxiety, and we have things to say. I don't think it was a beat, I think it was, we have things to say. Mm-hmm. So it was all lyric driven.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I have to take your word for it because I wasn't around then.
And a little different. And then maybe the pendulum swung way over maybe with and I love old school R&B and the Ohio Players, Earth, Wind and Fire, Average White Band, and it went way over. I don't know how strong the lyrics were there, mm-hmm. but I know the sound.
She's a brick house. She's mighty, mighty. Letting it off.
I just know the way it made me feel.
Yeah.
Without thinking about just the sound of the beat and the rhythm, and then maybe is the pendulum kind of swinging back?
It goes back and forth. Mm-hmm. I mean, at the same time as Bob Dylan, there was the Beatles, and while they had great lyrics, they also had lyrics that made absolutely no fucking sense at all. No one seemed to care. You know what I mean? I still don't know what Come Together is about. I don't know what I Am the Walrus about. It just didn't matter to an extent. You know, it was like, and like you said with Bob Dylan, he represented to people an idea more than just the songs that he would play. You know, he represented that entire period of time when there was so much that needed to be said. That he became their voice. You know, he became the people's voice, and every generation kind of needs that. You know, but there's not many. That's the good thing. It's like you could find 100 of these trap rappers now, and probably by the time I'm a father, my kids will have never heard of most of them. But there'll be a couple, because those will have been the guys that made it something that it wasn't already, something interesting, something new. They, what's the word I'm looking for? They, where you make something new that
You
wasn't
evolve?
new. Yeah, sure, evolve. Let's say evolve.
Well, so okay, how do you evolve then? I mean, are you a voice for a generation? I mean, I don't think your style's Bob Dylan-esque. You're not trying to. I don't want to say there's no social message in what you talk about, because there are elements of that in there, but I don't know if I could put my finger on exactly what your thing is. Do you have a sense for it? Or?
Yeah, I figured it out probably in the last year. Like, I was able to narrow it down. My whole life, I like bringing people together. That's where I come from. My mom always let my friends run around the house. She was always like a welcoming human being, and still is. My dad, you know, was a modest restaurateur who, you know, is an ethical man and an intelligent man, and likes bringing people together in that setting, and treats people who come to his restaurant like family. And, you know, that's just who we are. That's like who I was raised by. And there was never a push for religion for me. It was always, there was never no one was ever trying to feed me things into my head that couldn't be proven. So I got a real chance, and they were separate parents, so I got to have a relationship with both of them separately, and who they are. And so that's who I was raised by. And then as time went on, like, I realized that when I'm in my happiest is when there's a group of people together who I can introduce them to, and I meet friends from all these different places and countries and worlds and ages, and it makes me happy. So now I've realized, that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to just, like, especially at a time when people are so divided, I'm supposed to be like a little bit of a bridge in a world full of gaps. And so that's what I've decided is my place.
I like that. We were given a tasking on this show by Sebastian Junger, best-selling author. He wrote the book for Perfect Storm, that movie. He's done a bunch of stuff, and he's like, all of you, because he's done a bunch of military writing. He's like, all of you military guys, your job now that you're mostly back here is to rally us. You know, we got to get away from the edges and back to the middle. And so that fits in with the character of the show. You know, we try to, like, you can believe what you can believe in, you can believe what you can believe in, but if we can all uncomfortably exist in the middle, let's all give it up to get in the middle a little bit more, you know?
And most of us can.
Yeah.
Most of us are willing to and want to and are decent people. But there are people out there that just, there's no chance that you will ever reach them.
Yeah.
And they're just out to do bad, and there's no understanding or or rhyme or reason for it. But the people that aren't, you do want to rally and bring together, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you want to go out there and have a great time and give that person the freedom to do whatever they need to do, and maybe they come back around. Maybe they get over the thing that's bugging them, or maybe they don't. But you can't worry about them, you know? Just rally folks in the middle. What's exciting about the new album, Carnival? Talk about that a little bit.
It's just it's the first album, so it's like my first full body of work, and it has like a lot of different themes, kind of the stuff that we've been talking about. Like I said, I have a song that I hope will be played at weddings. I have a song that it's kind of how I view the world and what we've been talking about for the last hour, and like I said, I wanted to make it a body of work so that it was fun to listen to all the way through, and I think it is.
When's it due out?
I don't know.
Still too far ahead.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I never can say. I've said like 6 different times to fans that this one song that's finally coming out was coming out. I can't tell them anymore. I keep trying to, January. Nope.
Just when it's done.
No. Yeah, well, no, when everything has to align so much, the stars really have to align for a song to have an impact.
Yeah.
Like if I release the song today with no promotion and no preparation, and it's just not going to do,
right,
regardless of if it's a great song, it's not going to do what it needs to do immediately. Drew Barrymore took a year to blow up.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of work.
But you have the right people in place to help with that.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, I do. So, wait a second. So, when did you stop playing football?
I was in the NFL for 6 seasons, so
6
my
seasons.
last year in the league was 1989. So I finished with the Los Angeles at that time Raiders and played.
Oh, no way.
My teammates were Howie Long and Marcus Allen.
Wow.
And that was good fun. And so I just stayed here in Los Angeles.
Wow. You've been here ever since, huh?
Yeah, it's good fun. Yeah.
And you train people, obviously. Is that what you do for you?
I
now,
do. That's
mostly?
that's my steady job, and then I've been in that acting business for some time now, and I've been shooting a bunch of commercials lately, so I continue to pursue that. Yeah.
It's always it's fun to have a life that keeps changing.
But I can say this, that I was just totally grew up a jock, just about 100%. My little taste of artistic, that artistic side of my brain was playing the trombone. I played a musical instrument. Couldn't sing, tried to sing, can't sing. But you can if you blow the right way, you can make some music, some sound come out of a musical instrument, which is kind of exciting. And then here it is all these years later, and it wasn't so long. It was around the time I was still playing football that I got interested in acting and exercising that part of my brain. So I've been really fortunate that I've got those diverse, because it's a very different. And I stand in admiration of artists like yourself, because I know that it can be. I can only imagine that at times it must feel so very lonely. You're not, Bryce. This isn't the Bryce band, right? This is right. This is a solo artist, and you must be. And we talked a little bit about this in our meeting earlier. That if you go to a school like Berkeley, I think you have to be. I remember when I showed up and played football at University of Maryland, I just got destroyed for the first year by the older, bigger, better, stronger football players on the team. But it teaches you resiliency, and eventually steel sharpens steel. So you have to get around these better people than you, so that you can elevate your game.
Absolutely.
And so within even though that's, in my case, it was with the team situation, but you as a singular standalone artist have to have an internal drive and a resiliency that will be checked time and time again. And then here you stand on the precipice of the next, right? You're releasing your own full-length album. So it's the next gut check, how we must make sure we do this right, using every bit of your resources, your intellect, your guile, to make sure it's done right. Does that sound about right?
Preparation, absolutely. And like you said, steel sharpens steel, and it takes those hits and those things that you really have to get past and over to prepare you for what this takes. I wouldn't be able to handle the level of work that this takes if I hadn't gone through everything I've gone through to get here. And you wouldn't be able to have a respect for it. Some people blow up overnight, and I never envy those people, because they have to figure out everything that I've been figuring out for 6, 7, 8 years overnight. And they're young, and they have all these people that are depending on them, and it's like, dude, I couldn't imagine that stress. Some people are prepared for it immediately, some people are just born for it. Michael Jackson, I I mean, he was beaten into submission. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if he'd be Michael Jackson if it weren't for that case. So,
But you don't know you're that person either until you get there. You know, when the rocket takes off and you're on it, you just don't know. It's the same thing. Combat's the same way. Like, I'm courageous. Are you? Like, until that moment
until
happens.
the moment comes and you have to prove it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's 3 responses: fight, flight, or freeze. And freeze is just a lack of training for the most part in those kind of situations. And it's fine because like in the NFL, like these guys are going fast. You know, like, and while you're thinking about that, they're all moving. It's the same thing, and you must have an element of that with what you do, where everything's. This is the major leagues of music right here. You know, I mean, you're looking down on L.A. This is where all of the biggest talent is at, or they come through here all the time. You know,
man, LA is definitely a hub.
Yeah,
it's a hub for. It's like how Paris was for novelists in the 20s. You know, it's like. And you can feel that, and for all entertainment people. Like one of my best friends is a political journalist, and he's had his own struggle, and you know, it's like it's funny being a part of people's stories before they are a story.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
What was I going to say on that regard? Oh, yeah, but we were talking about even like when you're on the field. It's so funny. You say fight or flight, and I was thinking. I couldn't even imagine being on that field, seeing these guys that are all in peak physical condition, running right towards me, trying as hard as they can to knock me the fuck off. Like, how do you handle that? Is it just training? Is it just...
Yeah, no, it's a lifetime of preparation. I started playing contact football when I was 7 years old. So, but I loved it from the beginning. I love the challenge of it, and look, football's game's not for everybody. It's a combat sport, but it's one that I just loved it like crazy. I love to compete, and you're not going to win all the time. You're not going to play. You're gonna get knocked on your ass. But that's where learning the resilience thing. You know, like there's a water off the duck's back, that kind of thing. You really do learn those things and not just a theoretical level, but physically, like, wow, I just got knocked on my ass. And so to get up, so that combination of the physical and that emotional, and it's resolve. And one other thing, what the game is a fast game. I tell people it's beyond fast. It's a sudden game. When the ball is snapped, it's sudden. So all the thinking needs to be done before the ball is snapped. So as a defensive lineman, I would look at the alignment of the running back. I would look at the alignment of the offensive lineman in front of me. I would see the position of the tight end and the wide receivers. And this would offer me information because I've been preparing all week. It would offer me information as to what the play might be that they're going to run next. So now I'm thinking, but then just before that ball is ready to snap, you need to stop thinking, or else something is going to go the wrong way. Probably you're going to freeze, or else just the thinking. That's where you have the potential for paralysis by analysis.
Yeah.
So
right.
do the pre-snap analysis. Ball's getting ready to snap. Shut it down. Go.
Wow.
It's fun.
Wow.
Football is played. It's chaos. 6 seconds at a time. Average football player takes 6 seconds. 6 seconds at a time. Every 30 seconds. Whistle blows. Play ends. Everybody gets off the ground. Goes back to the huddle. Call a play. Come out. Repeat that again. About 30 seconds go by. 6 seconds at a time. Every 30 seconds. When you're on stage, you're performing typical song. I can imagine. I don't know. I'm just riffing here, but the song takes about 3.5, 4 minutes, and you're 100% locked in. You're passionately, emotionally, intellectually. You've got technical things going on that people in the audience don't even probably think about. And then song comes to an end, and however you run your set, right, you're either going to take a moment, talk to the audience, or maybe get right to the next song. But there's like a rhythm to that process. And it can't always be slamming on the accelerator. You got to pull off sometimes, right? There's got to be that ebb and flow. I love the rhythm of football when you think of it that way. And when I go and see a live concert, I sort of like to lean back a little bit and appreciate the rhythm that every artist uniquely brings to their concert.
Wow. And you got a point, man. I mean, it's almost like both of those things are just a metaphor for how life works. It's like you have to prepare to a certain extent and then just do.
Oh man, that's
and repeat.
That's awesome.
And then repeat. Is
Repeat.
Yeah. Well,
Until you're dead.
Yeah.
But that repeating part, that's the discriminator, right? Like everybody has a great idea. Can you do something with that idea? Can you repeat that? And can you,
Yep.
can you, I like to say like a great band is realized in the third album. Then maybe someone has a kid. Sometimes people are dead. All these crazy things happen. But can you still produce hits at a level that makes you still relevant? And it's, that's the repeat part. That's really where the sword is sharp, and you're still able to swing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've had you for an hour, man, and you got stuff to do. You got songs to write. I want to get in your way.
I decided I'm going to work from home today because going to the studio has not been helpful for some reason the last week.
Changing it
haven't
up.
been able to come up with anything new, so I'm going to walk around here probably and with my headphones on. Go get some breakfast at that Beechwood Cafe.
Nice.
I like it up here. Feels like a little bit removed.
Yeah.
This is an iconic neighborhood. It's actually, I've been all around the Hollywood Hills over all the years I've lived, 30 years in Los Angeles, but I've never been to Beechwood Canyon, and here I am.
Really?
At your crib. It is awesome.
I'll bet you have crazy stories with some of the people that you've been around. I couldn't even imagine. Like,
I'll give you some wisdom. And when I played for the Raiders, our team doctor, Dr. Robert Huizinga, became famous later because he's Dr. H on The Biggest Loser for 18 seasons. Anyway, he's an internal medicine doctor in Beverly Hills, and he's a great friend of mine. And he offered me this wisdom. You've heard this before, but it's so true because he was a Raiders team doctor for 11 years, and he says to me he says, Pete, it's all about the stories. It's all about the stories at the end of the day. So anytime you have a chance to sit down, and that's why I jumped at this chance when Pete Turner called me up, had a chance to meet with you, Bryce, because it's late. It's all about the stories.
Yeah.
And I appreciate what you have to say because you bring your unique talent as an artist, and all I can do is sit here for an hour. You were kind enough to allow me to sit here and glean from you whatever I could so that I can take that, store that someplace, compartmentalize that, and as a humble artist, as an actor, and reach down. Someday I'm sure I'll reach down into my tool bag and remember something that we discussed and that you offered up this afternoon.
The willingness to hear people out and to know and experience new things, right? I mean, that's the only way to grow. Dude, I'm so glad you came, man. I've never known much or gotten to empathize with people in your field, really. Not since my friends played high school and football in high school. I don't know any NFL players. I don't get a chance to have this conversation here from your side either. So I appreciate you coming, man.
Thank you.
All right, fellas. Thank you so much.
That's it. Here we go.